This is what Gaza's farms used to look like. Thriving olive groves, strawberry fields and greenhouses bursting with tomatoes. Much of that is now gone. The Israel-Hamas war in Gaza has destroyed Gazans' ability to produce their own food. Once the war is finally over, will they ever be able to sustainably grow food again?
$1 billion destruction in the agricultural sectors.
It was really shocking to me.
We are facing the huge problem of the water.
There are many ways to assess the costs of Israel's war in Gaza. One is what activists and researchers call an ecocide.
It's the destruction of the flora and the fauna. It's a deliberate act of ecocide, the deliberate act of the destruction of an environment, so much so that it cannot be inhabited.
Today, most of the world associates Gaza with images like this. But people who know the territory well remember it very differently.
Gaza is not the Gaza that we know now.
The territory was once largely self-sufficient in producing vegetables, fruit, dairy, meat and fish.
No need to import any of this.
The best fruit of bell pepper I saw it was in Rafah.
Agronomist Nasser Quaddous from the aid organization Anira has worked with farmers across the Palestinian territories for many years.
The best strawberries, you'll find them in the north, in Beit Lahiya, and it's well known for strawberries.
In the years before the current war, the Gaza Strip grew so much produce that they could export some of it. Mostly strawberries, tomatoes and cucumbers to the West Bank and Israel.
Gaza farmers are very smart, very innovative. They are insisting, they never surrender because they love their land.
10 months into the war, abundant harvests have given way to destruction and a dire humanitarian crisis. Regional authorities in the Gaza Strip say that the Israeli military blew up over 30 water wells in July alone. The water shortage impacts use for drinking, personal hygiene, cooking and washing, but it also impacts crops, both in the short and long term.
You know, agriculture without water is nothing.
There is a heavy destruction of the water infrastructure.
Mahmoud El-Saka joined the NGO confederation Oxfam in 2015. He currently oversees the organization's food security and livelihood support in Gaza.
The irrigation networks, the carrier lines, and also the demolitions of the land, and even the water wells for agriculture even destroyed.
The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization says the invasion of the Israeli military has brought agricultural activities almost to a complete halt. Many Gazan farmers, especially those in the north, had to flee their homes and farms following Israeli evacuation orders.
They were telling us that they've heard their farms have been destroyed. They've heard that kind of like there's nothing left of their greenhouse or their farm.
Samaneh Mouafi is a researcher with Forensic Architecture, a London-based university research group that investigates state and corporate violence. Their recent research has identified more than 2,000 agricultural sites that have been destroyed since October 2023. That's when Israel began its current military offensive, vowing to eradicate Hamas following the group's terror attack on Israel. Forensic Architecture has documented what happened to this family-run farm in northern Gaza, which used to grow olives, pomegranates and citrus fruits.
All the trees are taken out, all the crops are taken out, the surface of the earth has been raised, new roads have been put in place, new earthworks have been put in place. Effectively, the area has become a kind of like a military base.
You know, bulldozers come and they excavate everything fields, orchards, greenhouses, and destroy whatever in front of them. This is one thing. The other thing is the bombing.
What I saw is a really rapid development of the damage to the land. It was really shocking to me.
He Yin is a satellite imagery analyst and assistant professor at Kent State University. His work is visualizing evidence of the destruction of Gaza's tree crops as the war continued.
Our analysis found that until early July 2024, more than half of the agricultural fields in Gaza were destroyed.
Satellite data is one valuable source of evidence to map landscape changes like damage or destruction. Another is on-the-ground information. Such qualitative findings are the foundation of forensic architecture's research.
Looking at a site only from distance for using satellite is not enough. Often with our work, we have an insight from the ground that confirms what we see on a satellite is actually taking place.
Ecocide is a term preferred by some research and activists who understand Israel's destruction of Gaza's agricultural sector and livelihood to be deliberate. We put this allegation to the Israeli military. They say that all of their operations aim to dismantle Hamas's military capabilities and that the militant group often operates from agricultural land. But forensic architecture also says Israel's destruction of Gazan agricultural farms is not new and even predates the war by several years.
I think it was around 2018 that we were asked by farmers in Gaza to investigate the destruction of their crops. We were told by the farmers that these crop dusters, Israeli crop dusters, are flying very close to the border. Maybe even, they couldn't tell exactly what side of the border it is. They're flying very close to the border and they're spraying herbicide, and the herbicidal particles are coming and covering their fields.
The Israeli Ministry of Defense confirmed that aerial herbicides were sprayed along the width of the perimeter of Gaza.
I realize they're happening twice a year, right before the harvest time.
The majority of the crops in Gaza, they are tree crops, like olive, like a pistachio, fruit trees as well, and they take years to grow. So if the war ends tomorrow, let's say, it will still take years or maybe forever to recover the agricultural sectors.
Tree crops like the olive tree need at least 3 years before they bear their first fruit. Field crops like tomatoes are easier to grow, but require an average of 2 to 3 liters of fresh water per day. The legacy and tradition of cultivating fresh produce remains a point of pride for many Gazans, who manage thriving patches even amid the rubble. One of these farmers is 24-year-old Yousef Abu Rabi, who is trying to revive his family's destroyed farm in the north of the Strip.
قمنا بتنظيف وإزالة الركام والردم أنا وأخوتي، وتم تنظيف هذا المكان وحصلنا على الأشتال والبذور من المحاصيل التي تم تركها سابقا والتي جفت بفضل استمرار الحرب وعدم الوصول إليها، فأخذنا هذه البذور وهذه الأشتال ثم زرعناها في هذا المشتل البسيط وأنتجنا عدد منها والحمد لله.
What will it take to restore Gaza's once thriving agricultural landscape? And will it ever recover?
We need to have a full access for the different inputs, equipments, tools for the agricultural sectors.
They can build Gaza if there is an international will and there is international support. If the borders are open and the imports are allowed in.
And I don't know if we can repair what has been lost. But I want to also say that Palestinians are a people of resistance, that they know their land best. And if there is anyone who can repair this land, it's them.